So, in a surprising turn of events, we now have a Red Lantern who comes from the Golden Age, meaning that this is allegedly a character from the 1940s, back when Alan Scott was the only Green Lantern, Jay Garrick was the only Flash, and the JSA was the superhero team. And I want to make this clear right away, this is not a case where we're rediscovering an obscure Golden Age character with ties to a more prominent modern day version. We've actually talked about that on this channel before, with the Golden Age star Sapphire, who was legitimately a character from decades ago that everyone just forgot about. In the case of the Golden Age Red Lantern, this is a brand new character that's being retconned into DC's history, which is where it starts to get confusing. At the end of Flashpoint Beyond number 6, it's revealed that Rip Hunter and the Time Masters had been holding 13 Golden Age characters captive in stasis pods outside of time. All 13 of them are brand new DC characters created in 2022, with the story implication being that the only reason we've never seen them before is because Rip Hunter removed them from the timeline, retconning every story they were a part of. Basically, if you get a copy of Green Lantern number 1 from 1941 and you see that there's no Red Lantern in it, the reason is because the Red Lantern had been removed from the timeline by Rip Hunter, so the story printed in Green Lantern number 1 is itself a retcon. And I can't even begin to tell you how confusing it is to try and explain all of this, because as far as the real world is concerned, everything about these 13 characters existing at all is a retcon, but as far as the story is concerned, those characters have always existed, and anything that says they don't is the retcon. So if you see anything that says the Golden Age Red Lantern first appeared in Green Lantern number 1 from 1940, which his bio page in the new Golden Age number 1 totally does, no he didn't. He first appeared by name in Flashpoint Beyond number 6, and then on a mock-up of a Who's Who in the DC Universe encyclopedia page in the new Golden Age number 1, both of which came out in 2022. So now that we've got through that awful mess, let's talk about this new Red Lantern. His name is Vladimir Sokov, and he's a highly decorated soldier in the Russian military. Russia's top scientists had been working to try and replicate the powers of Green Lantern, and eventually they were able to create a red ring and battery that draw power from a mysterious source the Russians called the Crimson Flame. They don't know anything about this power or where it comes from, just that it seems to act just like the power wielded by Green Lantern. Vladimir was chosen to be Russia's Red Lantern, making him the country's first superhero, though he still followed the orders of his military superiors and could only act as the Red Lantern when sent on sanctioned missions. He became Alan Scott's arch-enemy, and they clashed constantly throughout the 1940s and even teamed up once or twice against the Nazis. Vladimir also has a daughter who was inexplicably born with a connection to the Crimson Flame, giving her both internalized powers and red skin. The government took her away to study her and likely experiment on her, and that's when everything went to hell. Vladimir went to take his daughter back and killed every scientist associated with the project, before having to fight the Russian military. Vladimir was believed to be killed, but they never recovered his body, or his daughter, or the ring and battery. And for now, that's all we know about Vladimir Sokov, the Golden Age Red Lantern, and I am not impressed. So far, way too much about this character is lifted directly from Alan Scott. His costume, his powers, the very specific condition of his daughter. It makes the Golden Age Red Lantern feel like a lazy knockoff. And the fact that he's wearing Alan's exact costume with a different color palette is a colossal missed opportunity to come up with something new that could make this character stand out and maybe tell us something more about him. I realize that part of his origin story is that he's literally supposed to be a red copy of Green Lantern, but all that does is justify a lazy design. And I don't see why the Russian government would even care about replicating Alan's costume when the power is the important thing. Speaking of the power, it seems like it's just Green Lantern but red. It's colorful fire that seems to be made of magic, it makes constructs, it's just Alan's powers but red. The fact that they don't know anything about its source leaves a lot of doors open, and there's potential to make it interesting. Maybe it's a magical force comparable to the Starheart, or maybe it's not magic at all. Maybe they accidentally found a new way to access the emotional spectrum. There's no way to know yet, and they haven't given us anything to go on. So, overall, I'm disappointed with what we've been shown. When they told us that there was a Golden Age Red Lantern, the sky was the limit when it came to what the details could possibly have been. But then we find out that it's mostly the same as the Golden Age Green Lantern, and the whole thing just starts to feel like a wasted opportunity. They even gave him a red version of Jade. I can't even believe it. And I can't stress enough that our first exposure to this character being an encyclopedia bio page is a terrible decision. I realize that they're trying to lean into the idea that he's actually been around for a long time, but it makes a bad first impression. I want to meet this character by seeing him appear in actual stories, not by reading an article about older material that never actually happened. All that said, there's still hope. There are still a lot of big questions surrounding this character, and how they answer those questions could make all the difference in the world. I think focusing on the ways that Vladimir and Alan are different has a lot of potential. Everything about Alan's origin and the creation of the Green Lantern power was a series of coincidences and accidents, whereas the creation of the Red Lantern was very deliberate and planned, and the concept of scientists accidentally discovering magic is always a fun idea. There's also the fact that Vladimir has military training. He's one of the best soldiers in the Russian army and is deadly at hand-to-hand combat, meaning that unlike Alan Scott, Vladimir is just as big of a threat without the ring. His relationship with his government is completely different from the way Alan has helped the United States, and that alone would be enough to make the two of them see the job of being a superhero totally differently. So there are ways they could build on the information we already have and make the Golden Age Red Lantern into an interesting character. I just think this was a bad way to start, and that the whole Golden Age retcon mess isn't helping. Still, we haven't even seen Vladimir appear in an actual story yet, and it would be a big mistake to totally write the character off just based on what little we've been shown. I am interested in seeing this red version of Jade. I bet her name is Crimson or Ruby or something. Maybe Scarlet? I guess we'll see. So that's the Golden Age Red Lantern. What do you think so far? Do you like the idea? Is this all too confusing? Are there any other characters in that group of 13 that appeal to you? Tell me all about it in the comment section down below, and remember to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. In the meantime, thank you for taking the time to watch. My name is Dan. We'll talk again soon.